all my mother's ever really wanted for my brother and my sister and me is to just once sit down for a family photograph. And except for one time when a photographer came out to our house that we were living in that had shag rugs that we had to rake as part of our daily chores, we managed to put her off for 40 years. But that night, it must have been a winter night because I remember how dark it was outside. And I remember the darkness made the flash from the camera extra bright against the white walls. Notice my mother in the beautiful blue dress. We were enjoying a solid run. 40 years is a long time. But then one of my siblings who will remain nameless, but who is not my sister, made a rogue decision that a family photograph would be the perfect thing for my parents' 55th wedding anniversary. And that after all Mother has done for us in immeasurable ways, she really deserves all that she's ever wanted. So my sister had 45 minutes between 4:30 and 5:15 on a Wednesday because she had to get my two lovely nieces back across town for an end-of-the-year talent show. And my oldest lovely niece and her husband had to leave no later than 5:30 because they had to get across town in the opposite direction for their first Lamaze class at 7. And my brother and his girlfriend had driven over the Sierra 6 hours. And my girlfriend, she could leave work at 4:30, which would put her at the house at 4:45, 5 o'clock at the latest. She's always on time. And finally, my parents, who lived in their house for over 25 years, were dressed and ready and sitting in the family room an hour before the appointed time. Viewed as a Venn diagram, the timing of our family photograph might look something like this. Now, family gathered around the table is tradition at our home, so the table was set with the pretty good silver and the pretty good china, and those of us who remained ate dinner and talked about the photograph. And somewhere among all the stories and laughter, I started to do something peculiar. I started to watch my father cut his ribeye steak. With a knife in his right hand and the fork in his left hand, he'd cut bite-sized pieces. And then he'd lay the knife on the side of the plate. He'd switch the fork from his left hand to his right hand, and he'd take a bite, and he'd chew slowly. And then he'd take the fork from his right hand to his left hand, and he'd lay it on the opposite side of the plate carefully, like this. And you know what I realized watching him? I realized that I eat just like him. And I realized this small act had shaped the way I view the world. Of course, this is the way one is supposed to eat, because this is the culture I've grown up in. Watching him and imitating him my whole life had unconsciously developed a cultural identity, the tools we all have and all use to live with a little understanding in the world around us. And he taught me that morality is what earnestness is. And he taught me how to dress in a suit. Sitting at the head of his table in his usual spot, feeling, I think, a little sentimental because he'd celebrated 55 years with the love of his life, he waited for our undivided attention. And he said, "Thank you." How grateful he was to be able to celebrate with us. He said, "We've lived a lot of years around this table. We've told a lot of stories. We've shared lots of laughter, and we've even shed a tear." Halfway around the world, on the occasion that I had to visit my girlfriend's parents' home for the first time, we didn't have ribeye steak. We had okra, chapatis, and rice and dal. my girlfriend who grew up in Indiana, and interestingly, I was born in Indiana. We met and fallen in love in San Jose, California. But we were visiting her parents in India, in the state of Gujarat, the state where Mahatma Gandhi was from. And let me tell you, visiting their home was a refuge from the chaos of India. We were delighted to be there. But still, there was the issue about two people from two different cultures who had met and fallen in love. Where do I sleep? I asked my girlfriend before we arrived. And she, in her infinite wisdom, said, anywhere they tell you. So when dinner time came, we sat at the table with the lazy Susan so we could pass the okra and the chapatis and the rice and the dal. And I'm still amazed that my girlfriend's mother knew to make my favorite dish, because anywhere in the world, her okra is heaven. So we're sitting at the table and telling stories and laughing and making plans for the following day, just like we would at my family's table. But we're eating with these perfectly circular chapatis. And so I'll tear a piece off them, and I'll scoop, and I'll gather, and I'll eat. But underneath the table, I'm trying not to tear up my paper napkin. And I'm trying not to eat too many chapatis, because this is not this. Still, everything's going swimmingly. That is, until I go to eat the dal. Dal is made out of lentils and has like a soup-like quality. So, like I've been taught to eat soup, I pick up the spoon and I push away and I don't slurp. But it's so delicious and so nutritious. So with my sticky fingers, I pick up the spoon again and I push away and I don't slurp. But then my girlfriend leans over to me and she says, "You're supposed to eat that at the end." Well, now I'm a little freaked out. The first dinner and the first visit to my girlfriend's home, my girlfriend's parents' home. And have I insulted them? But at that moment, her father says from across the table, "Let him eat any way he wants to eat." So now it's my girlfriend who's taken aback, because this is the way she's been taught to eat. This is the culture she's grown up in. Just imagine people from all over the world sitting at his table with a lazy Susan filled with delectables, and they're eating any way they want to eat. And they're eating without expectation. A table where everyone is guest or family or friend. Now, I'm a poet, and the job of a poet is to examine the most intimate nature of ourselves, of our family, and of our cultures. And because it's the most intimate things, it's also the most truthful things that we all share. After all, being human is shared by all humans. And so the job of the poet is to write about what is universal: love and food, the ravages of war, and the desire to make an impact on the world. And it's a good job, trying to become the type of man who has something of worth to say, except they don't pay you very much. And so I work at a grocery store where daily I'm surrounded by people in their busy lives, stopping by to grab a bite to eat after work, or shopping for their meal for the whole week, or grabbing something for their child's birthday party. And I don't know what it is, but there's something about a grocery store where people want to share their stories. And what I sense in each of those stories is the necessity we all have to try and find significance and beauty and reason in our daily efforts. And so I use the grocery store, a lot of my poetry, to help explore the struggles that we all have in life. Listen to my poem. It's Sunday night and the forecast predicts rain and the alarm is set for 4 a.m. And my back aches because the couch we dragged from Wyrick and Lee has collapsed. Damn, now my back's collapsed. Every day at the grocery store, I'm on my feet. If I don't go in, who will shovel and pack and shovel ice so the fillets stay crisp all day long? Who will grab bags of ice to chill the fish for customers on their long drive home? Who will crack the Dungeness, steak halibut, scale and flick guts from largemouth basses? I don't have sick days left, don't have long-term disability. The state pays half your income, but the state's nearly bankrupt. Will I even get that? When my girlfriend went out, I waited up as long as I could for her return, waited for her to massage and hot pad, knuckle my back into shape. So I turned on Star Wars. Umpteenth time to dream the dream of adventure. Poor Luke. Poor Leia, sleek yet frail in her white gown. But I fell asleep and didn't make it until Luke called, "Red 5 going in," and Han saves the day, and in the end, Chewbacca roars. Flat on my back, crashed on the couch. Look at me now. I can't touch my toes, do crunches, walk around the block and it's swimsuit season. I know I shouldn't care, but I do. Half-hour drive over the hill, the beach is gold and azure and lightly breezy, filled with bodies the Greeks would have killed for. But why am I concerned? The sun burns me. White spots glow from my armpits after I lie on the sand, half-hour on my stomach, a half on my back. And whenever I stretch to catch the flung frisbee that seems hung forever midair, I stab my burnt arm into the blue abyss, my fingers grabbing desperately, toenails burning yellow in the sand as I run fleet-footed like messengers across the heroic, blood-splattered fields of Ilium. Inevitably, the disc is just out of reach. It falls perfectly still at the foot of some perfectly tanned girl's towel that I kick sand on as I break to a halt. Something of the color of spawning salmon, redness of geraniums must flash through her mind as she examines the blistering hue of my chest and sighs. She flips a page in her magazine as I take my frisbee up, walk back, pricked in my slumped shoulders with 1,000 spears from the sun. Why is it we can't let go of the concept of beauty? Oh, Helen, Helen, oh, Aphrodite, sleek in your white gown, what worth, what gold is the golden apple made from? Paris was a fool. A glistening bronze chap in linen swishing into the cabana for gin and tonics and never thought red-headed Menelaus would mind his beautiful wife had abandoned him. How we suffer. How we fall flat on our faces from the endlessness of desire. Flat on my back, ice packs up and down my body. I wonder which is more important. To catch that frisbee with a Heisman Trophy snag just before the towel of that tan nymph and smiled, or be as gaunt and light and unattached and alone and kingly and loincloth and mindful as the Buddha sitting beneath the Bodhi tree. grocery store is bound to the seasons. And I've worked there long enough to see a new generation being born, to see people marry, and to see people divorce, and to see those whom I've come to know well die. But every Christmas, and every Rosh Hashanah, and every Memorial Day, people come to buy food to feast with their families. And after the cioppino, and after the baked fish, and after the barbecued hamburgers and potato salad and pies and ice cream, people sit around the dinner table like they've done for generations. And they tell stories, and they share lots of laughter, and they may even shed a tear. Thank you.